Welcome back to the Acer Team Story Cup. We have officially swapped to the Korean server at this point. Worth noting, Kane is stationed and living in North America, so we'll see if that comes into play or not. But spawning in the lower right, his team now 1-1 thanks to a victory over Stardust. The Red Protoss player from Axiom Esports, Alicia.
And on the top left, playing for mYinsanity, it is the blue Zerg, Kane.
I like his, if you guys haven't seen it, Kane's got a sense of humor, of course. You've seen it on Twitter, I'm sure, between Nershio and himself, and just in general, but his current North American client tag is not mYinsanity, it is RIP NA, and it makes me so sad.
Oh, is it true, though?
I don't know. We'll find out as the year goes on, I guess, for WCS, but I like that Kane's got a sense of humor. There's not a lot of players who do, I feel. There's some guys that can be funny off the game and such, but a lot of people take this very seriously, and rightfully so, because for them it's the passion, it's the career, and look at it however you want. Kane's always been kind of, whether you see him as BM or not, he's just been kind of a funny dude, and I've enjoyed following his story through his career.
Well, we actually have a Forge first from Alicia. Of course, Stardust, the last Protoss we saw, was doing nothing but Forge firsts against Zerg and trying desperately to get a cannon rush to work.
This, on this map, doesn't come actually off as that odd to me. Daedalus Point is not as bad as it once was, and it's not as Zerg favored as I think a lot of people like to consider it, but the reality of it is, for a Protoss player, securing that third's going to be a little bit difficult.
Is he gonna do a proxy hatch? Is he gonna do it?
No.
No. Okay.
Just this instead.
Yar. Okay, well, he did scout the Forge first, so he knows, even though he went for a 15 hatch, he just has to send a drone down to make sure that Alicia isn't putting down any pylons or cannons or whatnot. And he'll be pretty fine. Although, I mean, yeah, this map isn't that great for getting those really sweet wall-offs with the 2 pylons, so that's really all Kane had to do.
Yeah, there's also no cheeky spot like Frost, or you can just put it on the high ground up here either, but Probe's still insisting on being on this side of the map. I mean, Alicia doesn't have anybody to play with, so he doesn't have anything to worry about, but Kane still doesn't want to let this go unattended.
Yeah. Of course, you want to get a good scout if you can. I mean, the probe's there, so why not see if they're getting gas, for instance. Know if you can do that stalker poke, or if you're going to be stuck inside your base, because speed will be out.
We're going to get more scouting information off. On Daedalus Point, it's not nearly as many, I think, like freebie spots for the Overlords, but there's also nothing out too early that's going to be able to deal with this. He knows because it was the Forge first that he doesn't have to worry about Stalkers coming out anytime soon, and just going to free float for the time being. Worth noting third base from Kane, but as far as what I was kind of hinting at before, guys, with this map being a little bit okay for Zerg, there's a lot of really wide engagement areas. I mean, hell, even just inside the natural itself, outside around the third, even with double zoom out, like everything on this map, nothing, what was that other map that was like, Derelict Watcher? You know, it's kind of the same thing, where there's just so many wide engagement areas. As a Protoss player, you're not going to be able to rely on force fields the same way you necessarily normally would. I mean, you can still do donuts, you can still do those 4 or 5 force field walls, but the reality is you're probably not going to go with those same sort of Immortal Sentry pushes on this map, simply because there's no way to really abuse the terrain.
Yeah, so this is a great map for Roach Hydra busts, Roach Hydra Viper too, all that. And a lot of Protosses just, you know, they expect it, so they try their best to prepare for it. It seems to be what they always do on this map, because it's really good. You get to surround, you have a very beautiful arc outside the natural in the third of a Protoss player. The other option, you know, besides trying to prepare your best for it, is of course to all in, but as you were talking about, since force fields really aren't that great, we don't really see a whole lot of all-ins on this map.
Oh man, big shout out to G-Trunks1. We just had a sub while this was going on. You, sir, will earn twice the partoofs of a regular user now. Don't forget to ace Kate and use our emoticons. Thank you very much for your sub. But you know what, actually? We're talking about like what could and couldn't happen, but one thing we do need to factor into our theory crafting, so to speak, is the fact that Kane is a player who will sit there and laugh while he uses swarm hosts. He used them versus Todd in the qualifiers on Yonsu. Daedalus Point is one of those maps where you can get some pretty good use out of them. I'm not saying he necessarily will go for Swarm Hosts, but it's certainly within his wheelhouse. There's some players who will just absolutely refuse to do Swarm Hosts. It's not a fun playstyle, they don't like it, and it's unfortunate that players kind of get that sort of, I guess, stubborn attitude, but they can be effective versus Protoss, especially if used correctly.
Looks like we got 2 more gateways following us up for Alicia. Nothing too weird. I mean, it's kind of weird that he's not getting a Stargate just because we've been seeing that a lot more often, but it's fine. Also, a Twilight Council. So I don't know. I don't think he's gonna attack. You can pretty much always attack if you want to, because you have a recall. That's called a poke, I suppose. But
there's some people who are really good at abusing that. A lot of people joke around about Noni, or Noonie, whatever you want to call him. But sometimes, honestly, watching his stream is some of the funniest stuff. Watching how devastating a recall can be, because you're like, okay, you may have traded my third, as a Zerg player, but I'll get your army. Oh wait, just kidding. Everything got out alive.
Yeah. He's so close to really perfecting that too, I feel. But so far, he always slips up somehow. He leaves like a big chunk of his army behind. The militia corps dies, the worst part. But it's really close to making it look really OP, I'd say. Looks to be preparing for that third, so Alicia's plan is probably just try and hold on against what is probably going to be a Roach Hydra attack. Because Kane, he's got the Roach, he's got +1 missile attacks on the way. Natural progression is go ahead and get a Hydra send when the lair is done. Pretty standard, honestly. And of course, getting that blink out, that's why the console is going to help in your upgrades, getting that +2 out as soon as possible.
This is the nice thing about this, again, it can at least foremost, if at all, that's within what he plans to do. The Roach Hydra attacks in the mid to early game, they can be really strong if they hit at the right timings, but Kane's not exactly rushing anything out. He doesn't have a massive army supply by any means. I like the Lings being added into this, though. Those are always the scariest thing for sentries, because you immediately throw down 4 or 5 force fields, but there's a chance the Speedlings get around them when the Roaches are just kind of, we all said it before, they flounder in front of the force fields. I think is the best way to describe it. They're like a Magikarp.
That's true.
Roach.
And sometimes the Roaches can distract the army while the Lings surround the Nexus and get a nice cancel that way. Can definitely happen. So far, Kane, not throwing in a Roach form, but actually, or a Hydra Send rather, but actually going for nothing but Roaches. Something we saw 2 days ago, as well as just not waiting for the Hydralisk, not having that, but just, attacking sooner with a lot more Roaches.
Yeah. Well, what I actually really like, because Alicia's kind of going for this wider SimCity, it actually creates that terrain necessary for the force fields to be effective. I mean, like I said before, the problem is there's so much area here, you need so many force fields to fully wall this off, but even with just this pylon here, all of a sudden he needs only 3 or 4 force fields instead of 5 or 7. But still, time warp goes down. A couple good force fields will catch a lot of these units, but immediate burrow out of Kane. I didn't even catch him go for that tech, but that's awesome. Observer comes back home to detect this, but still a nice move that would have otherwise saved his Roaches.
Yeah, that was almost really brilliant. He got an Immortal. I think it's still making its way down here, but it looks like Alicia doesn't even need it. He is, fending this off really, really well so far. The problem is that once the force fields are gone, then Alicia's in really huge trouble.
Can we just take a moment, too, and give a little bit of a nod, a small sign of respect to the fact that Kane, like on a hair trigger, immediately burrowed those two? That wasn't even like a delayed reaction. That's pretty cool.
I think his plan, revolved a lot around having Burrow and hoping that they don't have Observer, which honestly is usually a good bet. They don't have an Observer until they feel like they need one, or it's across the map.
Exactly.
Yeah, it just happened to be well timed, unfortunately, for Alicia. Good force fields again off to the left side.
But he picks off a lot of
in there.
Look at the sentries going down though. He's already picked up 4, 5, 6, 7 are gonna go down here. 8. Oh my god. Kane on top of the army. The Immortal gets focused right away. This Roach attack has proven to be really strong. Last few sentries go down. Now it's just Stalkers versus a lot of Lings. A lot of Roaches flooding across the map. The Immortal surrounded by the Lings. The Stalkers slowly dying out. There's a cannon down, but there's no overcharge available. This Mothership Core is just shooting from afar. It has no energy. Lings can tell the natural as well. Alicia suddenly finds himself in a ton of trouble.
All the Stalkers won't be able to hold at the third. Maybe he warps in some Zealots to the natural, and that is held, but the third looks like it will eventually go down. I mean, Kane is not stopping this aggression. Alicia,
the natural's going down too soon to follow. The Immortal's going to get focused by Lings again. With no Immortals, he's got no way to beat back these Roaches.
I don't know why he didn't warp Zealots in right there, but that is unfortunate. Kane also following it up with a Hydralisk Den. That's going to be an extra impact,
that
unfortunately.
GG.
GG.
Now I want to say this real quick before we get out of the game here. Kane was the severe underdog in bets. Some people just got paid out huge in the Partouf system. 372 bets on Alicia, 90 on Kane.